Good morning, everybody. Today, welcome to obviously this monthly webinar. Today, we're looking at practical AI for business growth. When this first topic was put forward to us, we were a little bit like, AI, it's kind of, has it done its piece so far? But we think there's some nice stories to be able to tell. So we've kind of changed up the process of the webinar today, and we've brought in Russell Proudlock from Deborah. I'm sure most of you have met and seen at some of our events. So we're going to make this a bit more interactive, more conversation piece between Russell and I, and get you guys and girls all involved as much as possible. So first things first, I'm going to hopefully get Slido working. If anyone here from 11 Global at my event on Tuesday, you saw how much struggle I had. But this time we seem to be working quite smoothly. So if I could ask everyone in here to scan the QR code and join, and there'll be a few questions throughout just to get some insights from you all, and hopefully some fun questions as well along the way to make it as interesting as possible. Just give you a minute on that one. Hopefully it's working as smoothly for you as it is from my end at the moment. Courtney, are you able to see on your screen how many people have joined the slide? I can't see that on mine. Just want to double check.
No, I have joined it myself, so
Okay.
it's working.
Cool.
But I can't see until we go to the next one how many people are in it.
That's fine. We'll give everyone an extra 30 seconds just to type your names and get signed up for that. I'm just pleased to see it's working. Cool. So like I said, for those who don't know me, I'm Sam Harper, partner account manager at Evolve IP, and we've got the fantastic Russell Proudlock here from Deborah as well, who's one of our account managers, or the account manager, I should say. Like I said, many of you have been introduced to him at events and so forth, and been on calls with him. So hopefully a couple of familiar faces to talk about how AI has been impacting us up to this point, kind of the return on investment and the success stories we've had so far as well. And then also we'll look into the future as well. Bit of an icebreaker for everyone first to make this a little bit fun and not just me and Russ just talking amongst ourselves. The first Slido question we've got here is, when you hear the word AI, what's the first word that comes to mind? And I'll happily take responses like Terminator and Will Smith and so forth. Completely open to whatever you want. Robots, there we go.
Yeah.
ChatGPT taking a big one. Scary, global dominance. Okay, nice. Enablers, a very good response. I'm liking that one. Replacing humans. I thought that one might come up at some point during today, so I'm glad it has. Brilliant. Give a couple more seconds. Any others that haven't responded so far? Expensive. Russell, that's on you.
Yeah, that's just I saw that one pop up then. I thought, well, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks guys. Some really good answers there. ChatGPT and robots, yeah, being the main ones. Obviously, I think everyone's starting to find lots of use cases for ChatGPT across their day-to-day lives. Don't use it to respond to messages to your wife. You do get caught out. But there is some really nice use cases for it, and hopefully ones that said scary and obviously expensive. Hopefully we can kind of settle that and have a different way of talking about these moving forward. That's something you can get off the back of this webinar today. So like I said, the outcome from the webinar, what we want you guys and girls to come away with today is why AI matters now. Yes, AI has been a word that it's been regurgitated time and time again, and I'm sure there's someone working heavily away at Harvard University who's going to come up with a new acronym that's going to get us all excited about AI again, but it is embedded in what we do. The success stories and the return on investment, what do those look like now, and how are we creating that return on investment for our customers? And, you know, the last piece is, where is AI taking us? I don't think any of us here realise where it would be within the last 2 years when AI first really started pushing into our day-to-day lives and the industry as a whole. So where it's going to take us in the future will be quite interesting to have a conversation about. Just a couple of questions before me and Russ dive into a bit more conversation piece. So the first one being, why AI now? So how would you describe your organization's current use of AI in communications? Are you already using it in a production method? Are you testing and piloting it at the moment? You're starting to explore but haven't quite started and got yourself over the line? Or are you actually in the moment where you've got no plans yet at all? And that'd be really interesting to see if anyone does have that response. Because I think the way these responses are coming in now, we're testing and piloting is where we're seeing the industry going. So really, really good to see that. And obviously there's a few others in the exploring and already using AI as well. So really good to see that. And that's kind of what we're seeing across the board, right? And then just second one, what's the biggest challenge you're trying to solve with AI? I've given you a few examples here in case anyone's not too sure. But I'm sure many of you have done your business cases and worked out where AI fits into your business. So it'd be really interesting to hear from you all now where you're currently utilising or looking to utilise AI to find solutions for those challenges. Outdated mindset's a nice one. Compliance is really becoming a big one. Improving productivity and revenue leaks, very nice. I think outdated mindsets is quite an interesting one, and that's one of the kind of topics me and Russell will kind of guide into later, really, and how we can kind of help those situations where we're seeing success in guiding people through those kind of, dare I say it, prehistoric mindset to where we are now without being too derogatory towards them. There is that method, right, of trying to get people to open up their mind to the art of the possible for it. Consistency, yeah, freeing up resource, brilliant way of putting that one, and doing more work with the same amount of people, excellent. Cool, it's got two more participating. But compliance obviously being a really big one there. It's good to see. It's got one more participant typing, and another one. I'll let these last two do it, and then we'll move on to the next piece, and we can start talking about a few things, Russell. Driving efficiency, yeah, definitely one that's been a big conversation piece when we were on discovery calls and so forth. We've got complaints and compliance in there, but brilliant. Thank you, everyone. So why AI and why now? So we wanted to kind of start this session really, the way me and Russ are going to talk about this is that kind of guide us to where we are now and moving forward through the stages. I think it's important to kind of reflect back, and that's why I've introduced this image from Cavell, which was from 2024, about how they kind of foreseen AI impacting the contact center strategy for 2025. Now with the higher upskill employees, being able to adopt AI within your agents, be able to provide them with information and so forth. And it's really started to accelerate over these last 12 to 18 months. Conversations are rich every week. I think we've been pulled into conversations around AI and how businesses can use it. Russell, I suppose kind of the opening question for you is, over these like 12 to 18 months, what have you seen has been the biggest shift in how customers are starting to use AI in UCaaS and CCaaS?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's been quite a dramatic shift over that last 12, 18 months. And biggest switch I've seen, in my opinion, would be trust. There's been a huge shift in the trust towards utilization of AI. I think that from those that have either seen it or had a taster of it within their own organization or organizations that they work alongside, or perhaps some colleagues from other businesses. I think maybe this is a controversial statement, like things like GPT we're seen perhaps as like a gimmicky or a cheat, like an easy way out to produce a LinkedIn post and things like that. But it opened, I think it's opened people's mindsets into saying, well, if it can do that for free at the drop of a hat, what can a solution that's aligned to my business requirements do? And actually, I'm going to lean into this more. So I think perceptions have turned, and people are willing to open up in terms of trusting it. I don't think that there are some early adopters that are already there and absolutely embedded in it, But as a general switch, I think the trust is in the way that people are using it and willing to open up their organization to it has been the biggest switch I've seen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we're seeing that, and that trust only comes from using it, right? It's about kind of testing it out and seeing where it's been held. And everyone mentioned earlier the compliance piece as well, where is that data being stored, and having that kind of that openness between the suppliers to the end customer, making sure it's being stored in the right way and utilized in the right way, is really important moving forward. We've seen on some of the responses earlier that many organizations are currently in the process of experimenting with the AI. Customers are trying to get more personalized interactions with AI. The speed of responses, whether that's from an inquiry to an order, these are kind of areas where we're starting to see a lot of interest and uptake, and have those conversations around when it comes to discovery and trying to position the right solution for them. In your experience, I suppose, what separates those who see the real return on investment from those who are kind of just testing and then stalling and not really getting anywhere? Where's that kind of that success happening?
Right. For me, there's a real clear answer on this, and it's those that actually test with purpose.
Yes.
So those ones that are given, they give the time to align it to a challenge or an area of growth that they want to explore within their organization. So they're immediately saying, this is what I want to address, and I'm going to test certain specific solutions aligned with that, rather than just grabbing something and going, oh, yeah, it works. But without that alignment and without that purpose, there's no value correlation. So the people that are getting the best out of that explore session are ones that are targeting solutions that are aligned to something that's going to either solve a problem for them or help accelerate it in terms of efficiencies or revenue growth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we saw one not too long ago, Russell, didn't we, with a dentist practice, which is one of the weirdest ones ever. We never would have thought that something like double AI central analysis would work in a dentist practice. We done a deployment across, was it 14 sites, I think, in total.
Yeah.
And they wanted to use it so they can understand that their marketing was actually working correctly. So people were calling in, if they're doing a teeth whitening marketing, those things were then being correlated onto the actual call recordings and being pulled through. If it wasn't, then what have we done wrong in the marketing content, or are people talking about other things and we need to pivot and find something else to start working with? And those are really cool stories that we're starting to find that are just like I say, that it's not something we ever would have pinpointed as a vertical as such, but it's something that's come out of just people finding that reason, the way to use it, and then putting the right solution to get to where they need to be. Like I said, the dentistry practice was a great one, but are there any other kind of success stories that you've seen where it's moved from that proof of concept of delivering to effectively delivering those measurable business outcomes and those values?
Yeah, there's loads, but there's one I always pick out in recent months to talk about, and forgive me if anyone's heard this one before, but we had a proof of concept with an Australian car garage, and it was something to me where I just thought, okay, didn't expect that one. Wasn't sure on their sort of intention of it, but it was the call center element to it for taking bookings and scheduling, and they wanted some clarity over if they were going to experience any bottlenecks and resource and things like that. So a really good use of it, but not in an industry vertical that I'd considered myself. I'll be open. What they actually did was then they looked at it in terms of we applied it from a proof of concept through 3 different insights, which was the satisfaction, the complaints, and the sales element. And when they started exploring through being aided with ourselves on some explore sessions, looking at the sales element, we could see that there was opportunity being taken advantage of, but also opportunities being missed in terms of that exploring the expansion of sale. So they were doing advertising in terms of offers on certain tire brands, and we were able to then track that. So we said, right, do a new launch on that, and actually let's see on the upsell, and through our connections piece could see that actually that tire brand then became the most talked about topic of conversation within that organization. And off the back of it, they shared results with us, and they'd seen that exponential percentage growth in sales in that particular area, and they just went, right, that was it, that was the key to unlock it. We know it did all of the stuff we needed it to as a base level, this extra level of stuff means we can look at how are we actually expanding on sales? How are we doing not just an oil change, but a service as well at the same time through upsell? And also looking at that customer satisfaction piece as well. So they managed to close the loop and get far more of a return on their investment than they ever expected. And it came from an industry that I just opened my eyes to it. And now, we do talk about more motor industry now from a sales and service element. So it was really good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of those two proofs really. There, it just shows you kind of there is no one shoe fits all. These kind of solutions can go anywhere and everywhere. We shouldn't be scared to have those conversations with an industry we haven't yet heard of a success story. We've got the ability to kind of create that success from the solutions we have there. And I think I've got one of the third bullet point on it. The question is no longer should we use AI, but how do we get ROI from putting AI in place? Like how should we be using it? You touched on that slightly a minute ago. How have conversations with customers changed for you? Are they coming to you? Are they coming to you asking for AI, or are you kind of asking, or you show them the value first? I mean, for us, we're seeing a bit of both, and I think it depends on where obviously the customer is in that stage. But definitely, we're starting to see more of a shift in people asking for AI than having to be shown it first, if that makes any sense. How are you seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, look, very, very similar. I would say my answer is there's a mix still. I think we're edging towards the people coming to us to ask about it. But there's more. There's some that are still bringing it up because it's a buzzword, saying, "Oh, we need AI. Everyone else is using AI." But they're using it in a term that's just like, well, I want it because it's been talked about. I don't know what I want from AI. I don't know what actually AI means. AI is such a broad term that we need to put it into some context. But the right question that people are coming to us about is what can it do for my business that adds value to what I'm doing now? And that value can be a number of things, as we now, it can be sales, it can be service, it can be process, it can be giving that the most valuable commodity that we all talk about, which is time. Giving that back. What can it do in that? So we've seen a mix, but I'm glad to say that more are coming with the right question about AI, and then we're demonstrating the value with key partners like yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's more of that consultative approach, right, to the sale. It's no longer just trying to position a product, sell it, see you later, I'm off. It's about having those kind of open conversations, getting to the root cause of their problems, and understanding where we can fit this solution that's going to have the biggest impact on their business in a positive way, and provide that return on investment, really. Which kind of leads us segue nicely onto the next one, onto the next slide. Which is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being highest and 1 being the lowest, to the rest of the group here, how confident are you that you could prove return on investment from an AI project to your leadership team or even to a customer as well? So 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Some really interesting scores here, because like I say, the way we try to approach these is more of a consultative way now, making sure that our ROI is kind of documented, and then supported throughout the journey, not just when it's implemented, but then 6 months, 12 months down the line, and refreshing and coming back and touching base with the customers. So seeing a couple there in 1 is quite interesting, because I think there's so much more we can do with those people who have put a 1, or even I don't think anyone's put a 2. But we can definitely help with that element of it. But nice to see a large majority in the 4, and the people in 5 love it. You're overconfident, or you're doing everything right. Brilliant. And I'm going to lead slowly in a minute into like the ROI and the customer experience success stories. Just before I do, today's reality. Which part of communications do you think AI is delivering the most value in today's world? And if you want to put other, please put that one, but then put your messages into the webinar chat. So it'd be great to have those, so we can we can lean on those and use those in the future. Agent assistance and self-service being big ones. I think that's really, really interesting, because I think a lot of people are looking at AI as how we can take away that kind of that work away from the people, and respond to those menial questions in that kind of contact center environment. But then also it's quite refreshing to see so many people also looking at the agent assistants. How do we actually help them, whether that's through Dubber with the utilizing the recording and sentiment analysis for training purposes, or using it in a positive way where someone's had a call, it started off negatively and it's actually ended in a really positive way, using that kind of data to actually commend the agent for doing such a good job. And with the talk desk piece as well, using knowledge bases to actually pull information into our agents, so they can respond to customers effectively and efficiently with the right information, no matter if they've been there for a day, 2 years, or 3 weeks. That piece is really quite good. It's interesting as well that the first one, a lot of people put compliance as one of the main things, and we've got only responses in there for compliance, so that's quite an interesting turnaround. So yeah, so the return on investment and customer experiences. I've listed on here some of the key return on investment drivers that we are seeing. Cost savings, cost savings can be anything from, cost of the business in money, cost to the business in resource for people actually working in the business. But the brand reputation, if we're not doing something right, we're doing it wrong, the brand of the business is then can be damaged quite easily. And like I said, this consultative approach now we all seem to be kind of working our way into, and it's a successful one, right? Return on investment is the top of our mind. For you, Russ, I suppose, what are the kind of common ways customers are quantifying AI success today? I've put some here, but is there any that kind of fall out of those ones I've mentioned already that you're seeing too?
I think it's a great question. Looking at that, I see a mix of all of those. And it's really important to recognise that there isn't one size fits all. We touched on that earlier. Every organisation's challenges are different, and that can be from a small company with 3 or 4 employees right up to ones with thousands. They can share some common challenges, but I think that largely the challenges are different. And to truly demonstrate the ROI, you need to really understand the challenge you're trying to address. And the real magic happens for me is when you can put a tick in the box next to more than one of those from exploring. But as for are there other categories? The ROI is cost savings, productivity, the customer experience. That compliance and risk reduction, I think, is becoming more of a hot topic in terms of people are going, the cost of not doing this. So it loops back to a cost as well. Now, it's not necessarily a cost saving, but it's a cost protection. Yeah, we're talking about one slip up in that area can be costing someone 1% of their turnover for the year. Now that they might not on margins as such like that could wipe a business out in one go. So there's certain risk factors that fall into an ROI, but I wouldn't say it sits on its own topic. But yeah, those are the key ones. But the magic is can we do cost and productivity, and look at customer experience as well? So yeah, they're the key ones for me.
Yeah, no, that's it, and that's why discovery calls now are just so integral to anything we do on a project. Getting like us involved, you involved, the team at TalkDesk involved, at Kixie, get us all around the table with the customer, with our partners, and have those kind of open, frank conversations. And the whole reason for those is, to find out information, but then to dig deeper, draw on those conversations as well, find those pain points, understand them, even stick the knife in a little bit and make them feel that pain a little bit, so that it really starts to, you can then provide that value on the back of whatever you're kind of providing as that solution. And then we can document that return on investment. Is it going to be a CSAT score improvement? Is it going to be a revenue booster? Are we going to provide more time back to those agents and to the business to meet other demands within the business as well? Without doing that first piece, none of this, what we're showing on the screen, works, right? It's so difficult to try and document. And then for our partners, if we can do this and document it and share it, their brand and reputation is then highlighted as well. It just works better for everyone if we can do that, and that's why it's become such an imperative and important part of our kind of weekly diaries now, right? There's always discovery calls and conversations going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of touched on this already with the kind of the car one and the and dentistry piece, but is there any kind of specific stories where you know, AI has been delivered through Dubber, and what you've looked at as the kind of first use case, but then there's been an unexpected benefit beyond that once it's been put in place? Have you had anything like that you can share?
Yeah. So there's a call center environment I'm thinking about. It's not signed off for anything to be released, so I'll anonymize the data. But yeah, they were looking at the initial sort of from the listings here was sales and service was the element they were looking at. You know, all of the usual benefits of sales close, looking at those complaints, were there recurring topics? Could that relate to process improvement? You know, they were getting a lot of complaints around delivery, and that was, you know, something we could explore with them to say, well, is that certain people not setting expectations, or is that a problem with delivery processes? But so yes, we ticked the boxes of that, and we were able to prove working with the customer that says, actually, you know, these are the results. Are they what you expected? Are they not? What came out the back of it, which was an unexpected benefit, was there's quite a large workforce. And whilst we can focus on improvement in sales, improvement in that customer service and their NPS scores and things which plays into the brand recognition and everything like that, if you haven't got protection or a view of your workforce, so a duty of care, and that plays into an employee satisfaction, which in a lot of companies I've worked for previously, and a lot of businesses that I see, falls down the list of priority. It's always customer satisfaction, but if you focus on jointly employee satisfaction at the same time, what you get is, if you don't do that, you get the headlines, improvement in sales and service and such, but it's a very short-lived success. If you team that with the protection and duty of care of your people, thinking about abuse moments, thinking about that are they receiving the level of training and development and check-ins and review of escalations and complaint calls, that did that affect them? And that we fed that into a return on investment of, actually, what's your staff attrition rate? What does that look like? What's the cost of hiring and retraining? What's the opportunity loss when someone leaves? So there was a really, really valuable piece, which actually outweighed some of the other key points that initially listed, that we were able to address. So yeah, it was a real good discovery, but an eye opener for both us and the customer, where the conversation went.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it was literally on my mind, and then you just answered it exactly how I was kind of hoping would come out. Is that looking after your staff? It's, you got the whole business right, and you got the customers, and you got your suppliers, and you can do all that really cool stuff and make sure they're working to, or you're pushing them to where they need to be. But it's the staff, and they're the heartbeat of the business. And if we're not taking care of them and putting the right technology in front of them, we're only going to, like you say, it's going to be a short-term gain for a long-term pain. And by utilising these tools, we can really help out with that and really assist and get staff to a higher level. You know, happier staff bring a happier workplace, more ideas, more innovation comes from within. So it becomes a nice place to work, and then people then want to come and join the business instead of just wanting to leave. So yeah, there's so many different facets to it that we can really play with. Kind of, we've seen, well, I've said, we've mentioned a few verticals already, and I suppose we've taught this, we're seeing quite a large uptake within the retail, because a lot of that's been done online. They want agents like chatbots to be able to deal with conversations, requesting information via a chatbot, or pushing a call through to a retail company and taking those frontline calls. But then when it comes through to an agent, it's then providing with the information that they can share to get the customer the information they need so they can choose the right product that fits. We're seeing that in retail. We're doing some excellent work within health as well. Mental health, for example, you know, having the AI agents and taking those general conversations, so the staff who are heavily trained to deal with these kind of really stressful and important conversations have the time and ability to have those conversations with the patient. Is there any are there any verticals that you see are really leading the way for AI adoption across the board?
Yeah, I mean, what ties into one of the first answers in your first Slido was compliance. So the one that went first and is really leading the way is any regulated business. We're talking about financial, we're talking about insurance, any regulated where compliance is an absolute drop dead. That one is a key driver, but we're seeing surges across all manner of businesses. I always refer to AI being a broad church, and it caters for forward-thinking businesses. So I try not to, we've got to look at which ones are leading the way and which way we see successes, because they're the ones that you want to go and actually lean into for sales and for growth and such like that. But it's about realizing that all industries are covered by this, and that recognizing the benefit of being able to analyze every single interaction that's happening within your business that at the moment is happening passively. It turns these interactions into an asset that you can actually draw from, using the key data from that and enabling informed decisions. So I think that, yes, leaders, regulated, financial, anything where they've got a customer, like largely customer facing workforce, whether that be a service center or sales center, but then let's peel that back and let's talk about the dentist, let's talk about the car garages, and let's talk about, so it is broad, but regulated is absolutely one. They're talking about that compliant recording and that compliant storage, where if they're interrogated by any regulated body at any point, they've not only got the recording, that they can actually bolster that with, there was sentiment, there was this actions agreed out the back of it and such, so he said, she said goes out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned compliance there, and there's also kind of the data security as well. We touched on it before, and also the customer trust, right? If they're talking to an AI agent, where is that conversation then being saved and stored, and how is that then being used? And it's a really sensitive subject. How are you seeing customers balancing the need for that AI innovation, trying to get them to where we think they should be, with concerns like the compliance, data security, and customer trust? How are you seeing that kind of piece working at the moment?
I think, a lot of the customers that we have interaction with is through yourself and through some of the partners, but I think in general, customers themselves are doing a great job in this area. I think that the ones we're interacting with are anyway. It's about doing that due diligence, partnering wisely, using solutions that are compliant, that are demonstrably compliant, and doing that learning and that understanding piece, so they understand it themselves. So they're having that conversation both internally and externally, and they're then giving their sort of credibility to their beliefs and their reasons and the justifications of that. With Evolve, partnering with Dubber, there are countless companies out there that can record. I mean, like I say, in most of my presentations that we do, talk about call recording. It's the most boring subject in the world because everyone says they can do it. Like if you just want to capture calls, if we talk about what separates us, and with the guys in Newcastle earlier in the week, I have to say there's an amendment to one of my stats. I've recently checked on the Microsoft website, and there's now 20 companies globally, not 17, but we are one of the 20 globally that are listed as a Microsoft approved third-party compliance recording partner. And there are hundreds of steps that we take through to process data and ensure that we are responsibly handling and utilizing AI. So I think that customers need to do their homework. They need to do the sort of reading of what is good for them. Lean into the partner and do that piece about, is the partner looking at partnering with those compliant ones. So actually, if any questions come up, it's not a case of I need to justify it. You can just go, here's the information, here's how we store it, here's how we process your data. We are open and transparent. You've got the ability to do that, and then you can regain any sort of trust that may have been sort of wavering from a customer in that element. And I think it's going to be a continuing battle, because people do adopt the change curve at different times, but yeah, I think it's about that homework and that leaning into trusted providers.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of little snippets here that I managed to find online. It's hard to get a case study these days, but these are just a couple of little comments that have come around when I was looking at Dubber and TalkDesk in particular. This information here wouldn't be available if we didn't have those conversations in the first place and understand them. So with TalkDesk, one customer was, since migrating to TalkDesk, we've seen a 25% improvement in agent time efficiency and the enhanced customer experience as well, satisfaction, due to those fast responses and automation of repetitive tasks. Again, taking those kind of menial tasks away from the agents, the humans, the ones who have got that empathy to deal with customer complaints and the service in another way, and giving them the time to be able to do that effectively. And then obviously we've got here Dubber ticks all the boxes: compliance, simplicity, and efficiency, which is those are the things we want to hear. I think you've already said them, but this is just kind of condensed it down into one little sentence, right?
Yeah.
And covers all of that. So that's how we're working it now. These are the kind of conversations you want to have. We're doing quite a few deployments now with TalkDesk and with Dubber, with WebEx, with the AI and that. And it's important now with our partner base that we kind of go, right, let's have a 6-month review and understand where they were at the beginning and where they are now, so we can have these kind of conversations so they understand that return on investment, and it can be documented and shared and shouted about as well, because it's not just about throwing a solution in and running away anymore. We're all there for the longevity of the partnership, and we need to make sure we don't just sell, disappear. It goes a lot further than that now. A little poll here. So complete the sentence. In 2 years, AI in communications will. I'll let you put whatever you want in here. It's going to be quite an interesting set of responses. I think 2 years ago, we probably had no idea that we'd be where we are today, the kind of things that AI is already creating and doing for us successfully. I mean, I saw the other day that it's actually started to make really good music. Wouldn't have normally have been too keen on that, but it was a 50 Cent Many Men remix set in like a blues kind of style. And it's probably the best song I've heard of this year so far. So it's doing something right, but it's obviously got its own personal taste. But Rule the World, I thought that one might come up. Sort of the week from the show. Replace a percentage of support staff as well. So yeah, I like those ones. I mean, for me, yeah, I never even just using like WebEx meetings and using the AI summaries and the transcription piece in there has been an absolute game changer for me in the last 18 months. Having it's such a simple part of it, right? But just having someone there who's effectively your PA, I can then be fully focused on a session with someone. Just that's one simple thing just makes my day so much more smoother and easier. And then we can also copy and paste and upload them straight into the CRM as well. So we're starting to see sales teams actually adopt those those kind of WebEx meetings to be able to have that and take the admin task away from them as well. So it's really cool. So changing company structures, rule the world, sell for me, streamline processes, create more millionaires. I think we've got enough of them already, haven't we? Optimize the workforce, a very good one. What else we got here? Development. In 2 years, AI and communications will absolutely. I don't know what that one means. So replace the staff. So replacing staff's a really interesting one. This gets brought up quite a lot really in conversation, and I think it's more of a mentality shift. I had this when we were looking at an ordering platform for restaurants, and when we first looked at using AI to take those those questions and so forth and deal with those bookings, I was a little bit torn at first because I kind of thought, well, there's free agents there who could potentially lose their jobs because we've now got AI doing it. But I kind of sat back for a moment and thought, well, actually, restaurants generally, they have a 12 to, a year to a 3-year lifespan, and then they shut because they can no longer run anymore. Now, because we're inputting this kind of technology, actually, you've got more money in the restaurant to keep other people in the jobs. So you're actually prolonging those businesses in another way and keeping other staff in. But then we're also, using the technology to actually provide more efficient information to staff as well, so they can deal with requests and complaints and so forth more efficiently. So I think the word is repurposing staff, I think is the terminology that we see quite a lot. Just one more person typing, see what they say. Give you another 5 seconds. No pressure. Okay. So, the future of AI in the industry. Now, like I said, we never had no idea where we'd be this time from 2 years ago, and I think this is a little bit of a finger in the air, lick it, and we might end up where we think we're going to be. So there's so much that can change. Technologies, you know, it's rapidly enhancing what we all do and how we work on a day-to-day basis. Put in here some of the key predictions we're seeing across our industry, really. And I've put in there anticipating customer needs before they reach out. And what I mean by that is not so much, you know, the AI is reading your mind and understanding what's going on and going to start providing products. But, you know, if you've got a profile with a business and that's already baked into their data set, it's going to be able to maybe provide you with recommendations based on your previous buying options. It's going to be able to provide agents with that information to actually serve you more efficiently. Russell, you know, I've asked the rest of the group here if we look 2 years ahead, but what role do you think AI will play in shaping our UC and contact center environment moving forward?
Yeah, it was interesting to see some of those answers. Actually, the replacing people and such, it does come up quite a lot. I think you're right. It's not going to truly be able to do that if people take the right approach to it. But for me, it'll enable a symbiotic environment with AI and humans interacting seamlessly. I think AI taking on the process side of things, you know, the sort of things that can follow a flow and that don't need that human judgment, because I think that, you know, if you're dealing with humans, sometimes, you know, the answer would on a flowchart would say, well, the answer's no. But actually, if you can make your own human judgment on that, and you can say, well, actually, I understand this, and I'm going to make a judgment call on this, whether that be through empathy, whether that be through, you know, extenuating circumstances. So I think that the done well and adopted properly, it will enhance the workforce and it will create the ability to offer the best service to customers, employees alike. So I think I see far more synergy in the approach to it.
Yeah, and there's that kind of put up my second bullet point. You've kind of leaned into it a little bit there. Is that seamless integration? It's integrating not just with another system, for example, but integrating in with the staff, integrating into the chatbots, integrating into databases. Especially when we're looking at contact center deployments, is getting all those pieces of the puzzle which are currently siloed and building them together to actually make it a fully wrapped that's going to enhance the customer experience, the agent's experience, and the business's overall ability to change to the demands within the industry. And I had a question written down here. And for me, the response to this question is both. But for you, do you see AI being more about augmenting people or actually automating the processes? Do you see there being a split, or are you more 50-50?
I sort of use the word, instead of augmenting or automating, I've said complementing, and I would say it would be complementing both. True believer that if you embrace it as part of the development and growth, people will naturally change. And leading the automation process in harmony. Although I think it needs to be approached with measure and caution. Just get AI to do it, I think, well, it won't get you there. I think there needs to be a consideration of how it fits and what purpose it's going to serve. But I see it being a hugely, you know, complementary use going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with it moving so fast as well, there's starting to become these kind of must-have non-negotiables, right? The compliance piece we've touched on, how the data is being stored, what your agents need, and what we're doing through chatbots and AI, IVRs, and so forth. Because, like I say, looking further ahead, 2 years down the road, what will become the table stakes for features within our industry, which is a really tough question. But I think a lot of the things are already in place. But that's with the mindset that we don't truly know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. But what do you feel will be those kind of non-negotiables for a business to have within their portfolio?
I can have a stab at it, but I know, and if anyone hasn't seen or heard of a guy called Ant Morse, he's a bit of a futurist, and he's got a book, and it's called The Future of Us, and he predicted 3 or 4 years ago about AI, and you say it's finger in the air. Everything he predicted in a published book came true, and he's now talking to governments and things like that about it. It's a really interesting book. He's a really interesting person. If you see him, go and speak to him, and you'll probably get better insight into the future than I will. But for contact center, I think the sort of stables will be real-time suggestions. So we'll be linking to articles, policy information, customer history, and previous transcripts. So as the conversation is going on, the AI agent will actually go and pull that without you having to send a command and present you with information. So you are real-time answering that. The live speech and text for video and voice calls, like with translation in multiple languages. So it's happening there and then for you. Whilst we can do that in terms of recording and identify languages like we've got now, or real-time language recognition, I think it'll be happening in real time on the call as an absolute base level. I think that there'll be user-based personalization. So we all use the meeting summary notes and actions captured. I think there'll be learning based on what I like my notes to look like in a format, and how I want those notes sent out in which communication mode. So you might want to send yours via email, and I might want to send mine via Teams. But my AI will tailor my communication to the mode that I want, and I think that we'll get sort of individual personal tailoring like that, rather than as a solution that's for the business. And we'll be able to have AI solutions that will be able to almost do a pick and mix. If you think about like Lego blocks, and so, well, actually, I want the personalization from that, I want the translation from that. That you build your own SKU, if you like, from a base of 4 elements. So I think that sort of thing, but yeah, who knows?
There's loads in there, right? But for me, one of the main ones is that kind of compliance and security around it all. There's a great product with TalkDesk where it can actually understand the person's voice, so you sign up to it, and when you call into the business, it recognizes your voice as that person who's calling in. So it just takes away that authorization period, right? So when someone does ring in, they know it's the right person requesting information about their account, and it's not a hoax caller that's going to cause some damage to the customer and to the business as well. So those kind of elements that are already starting to come into play. And they're available now, but it's the more use they get, they'll then start to be built on moving forward and become more efficient moving forward. So it'd be really, really cool to see what happens there. And the kind of last question before we open up the floor to everyone else really within the group to fire some questions through if you wish to do so. Russ, what advice would you give to a business leader who's hesitant to adopt AI today, but they don't want to be left behind in the future?
Yeah, a good question. I think because that's down to personal mindset and things like that. But obviously the fear of missing out, which we've all had. I think my best advice would be go and explore, go and read it, go and immerse yourself in the plethora of knowledge that's out there. Then go and go and validate that with industry experts. Come and speak to you. Come and speak to us. Come and speak to the clever people that sit behind and are doing the responsible AI and the coding and the development of this. Come and speak to the resource that's available to you. Don't fall into the trap of going, well, AI is AI, thinking about iRobot with these white robots coming around and taking over the world, and that's robotics with AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is too broad to be scared of. Let's dive into the pieces of what can help you. Think of a problem that needs solving, and then go and because there are problems in every business and challenges and things like that, and really do the research and align to a trusted partner that give you an explore session that's really going to find out what's best for you, and then make your own decision from there.
Yeah, no, well put. So, I think we've got about 8 minutes left on the clock. Courtney, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A
Okay. So
few minutes for some questions.
we'll open up the floor to the rest of the group then. If you want to put your questions into the webinar chat function, Courtney should be able to pick those up and share them with us if you've got any. If not, don't
Yeah,
panic.
I've got one here that's
Brilliant.
what's the biggest myth or misconception you hear about AI in UCAS or CCAS?
Okay, Russ, do you want this one or should I take this one?
I don't know if it's a myth or a challenge or what. There's things that get brandished about is that everyone can do it. That's just ChatGPT can do that for me. And then the flip side of things that comes off the back of that is it's so expensive. And I just go, well, it's not because of, and that's where we talk about the ROI piece. And I can really and I'd love to have that debate with anyone. But misconception is, well, ChatGPT can do that for me. It's that sweeping statements, but yeah.
Yeah, no, for me it's the expense of it, and also a couple of people who have put in the chat today. It's the losing staff for that reason. I think yes, there will be jobs that will become made redundant because of AI across the whole globe, not just in our industry, but that will occur in some instances. But there's a bigger picture here, right? It's about utilising those staff more methodically to better help the business and help the customers, and actually empowering them, right? That's what we can do with AI, is empowering them and giving them access to these really, really cool, easy, intuitive tools that are going to make their day-to-day work so much more simpler and easier and more successful for the business overall.
I think quite rightly there's a fear that some jobs will become less needed. So like there is some loss there, but I think that fear outweighs someone looking the other way and saying this could create an awful lot more of jobs because actually we're able to expand, we're going to go in different directions. But I understand the fear of it.
Yeah. There's always a bit of fear, but fear's always also a selling tool, right?
Yeah.
And we got another question. Do you think AI is creating more value for businesses or for customers and end users? And if so, why?
Okay. Well, I would probably say businesses, maybe just only because it's enabling us to kind of do more within our business, right? We've kind of just touched this a second ago. It's enabling us to, provide more information, have more data provided to us to make better insights and better judgments and decisions on what we need to be doing around a business. We look at double call recording, for example. I love a Kixie because it's a call reporting, right? It tells you all the data for all your calls coming into the business. But Dubber is actually, think of all those customer engagements and conversations you're having. That in itself is a data set that needs to be unlocked. How your customers are talking to your business, how your business is talking to your customers. We can start to unlock that and actually do something with that information. So for businesses, it's really, really interesting what they can create from there. But I think that has a flip side. The customers and the end users then get the benefit of a better service, better products that suit their needs and requirements. I think it's a bit of a circle of life kind of piece there, really. What about you, Russ?
I agree. I think the businesses are getting the better of it at the moment, the lion's share. But I was going to say, so to Circle Life, I was going to say, well, is it chicken or egg? One of us is going to own it first, but I think it's enabling businesses, and I think that the end result of that is the better experience and what maybe more tailored solutions, maybe better experiences for those customers at the end. But I do think businesses are getting it right now. But I think it's laying a good foundation for the customers, the end users, to get that experience later.
Brilliant.
And we just had another question. It says, I have just convinced a business to upgrade from an ISDN to hosted telephony. Where would I start when it comes to AI? And what if the customer doesn't have FOMO?
Doesn't have what? FOMO?
Yeah.
Your first port of call is to get in touch with your partner account manager and let's have a conversation about it, really, and then we can set up those discovery calls and see where the customer wants to go. I think that's it. You've got your foot in the door. Let's start to build on that and then build those conversations and that information out. And find the right solution that fits. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But we need to have those conversations really to do that. So yeah, in that instance, reach out to your partner account manager. Hopefully it's one. Hopefully I'm on that one, and you'll email me after this. But yeah, 100% get us involved in those conversations as early as you possibly can. You've got our expertise. We've got Double, we've got TalkDesk, we've got all these other great vendors that work with us, and like Russell is today, they're all more than willing to join us on these events, but also customer conversations and so forth. So yeah, I don't keep it close to yourself, keep it open, and we can all work together for the better of the customer.
If someone's moved from ISDN to hosted now, they're already on that journey. They're already demonstrating that they're open to something. Now they might not be know what they're open to, but now is a perfect time to explore that and get in with that new solution.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions. I haven't had any come in, and we've finished bang on time.
Cool.
Thank you everybody for joining. We will have recorded this session, so I'll be sending it out in a couple of days, so please look out for it in your inbox. And as always, if you've got any questions, please reach out to your account managers. And thank you all for your time.
Brilliant. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks. Cheers all.
Thank you.